She sent me a picture.
Is that her? Oh my god.
She's so cute.
She's so freaking cute.
Look at her ears. Here we go.
When a person brings a dog into their family, they want to believe that the animal came from a humane source. But far too often, the dogs being sold across a variety of platforms come from puppy mills.
Puppy mills are commercial breeding operations that prioritize profit over the welfare of the animals.
When you combine animals with a business, there's an incentive to exploit them.
So this is the welcoming committee. We're all meeting outside, neutral turf.
So Tig is a puppy mill survivor. She spent the first 5 years of her life being bred on a puppy mill. Her puppies had a very high mortality rate, so she was no longer a good source of income. And the miller had a relationship with a rescue group in Pennsylvania called A Tale to Tell, and that is how we ended up adopting Tig.
We finally decided last night to name this little girl Tig, but she's petrified. Monkey is trying to help.
Come on, Tig. Tig. Aw, you're so unsure.
When you adopt a dog from a puppy mill who has been there to be bred, it's impossible to have expectations from them as you would a dog who previously lived with a family. We had to give Tig as much space as she needed. We covered the floor with puppy pads so that if she had an accident, that was okay. We just wanted her to feel safe.
Hi. Hi. No? Okay.
With approximately 10,000 puppy mills in the United States alone, it's estimated that this accounts for over 2 million puppies every year who are bred and raised in devastating conditions.
It's not uncommon to have dirty water, moldy food, cages stacked one on top of another with lots of puppies crammed into one.
The cages almost always have wire flooring. Their limbs get twisted up in it.
So we made this cage to be the minimum standard requirement set out by the Animal Welfare Act for breeding dogs. The size has to be 6 inches taller than the dogs when they're standing, and then 6 inches longer than the dog from tip of the nose to base of the tail. This amount of space is supposed to allow for the dog to stand up, sit down, lay down, and turn around comfortably. This could be a plywood box as long as it meets the standards set out for size of the Animal Welfare Act. Now, a lot of millers will use this type of material, hardware cloth or another kind of mesh flooring, so that they can stack dogs on top of each other. The feces and urine kind of drip down through multiple cages.
If you have dozens or hundreds of dogs in squalid conditions, that's a recipe for diseases to spread.
They end up dying from these things that could really easily be prevented just because the veterinary care isn't provided for these animals on a routine basis, if ever. The puppies from puppy mills are actually lucky compared to the breeding females. These animals can spend years of their lives confined to cages where they're merely kept alive, essentially, just to keep producing litter after litter.
When breeding females are no longer able to reproduce, they are often killed and disposed of. In some cases, the puppy mill operators have connections with a rescue organization that attempts to rehome her. But even those who are adopted tend to exhibit unnatural and compulsive behaviors as a result of their trauma.
Tig is not our first puppy mill rescue. In 2014, we adopted a Pomeranian. She looked like a baby kangaroo, so we named her Joey. Joey exhibited a lot of behaviors that are typical of animals in extreme captivity. So that includes pacing back and forth, neck twisting, and she also would self-mutilate. She didn't have any hair on her body. She only had hair on her face and on her feet. When we adopted a second dog, we learned that Joey's issue was stress-related from being in a puppy mill because her hair started to grow back once we had other dogs. It was very clear over time that she was making strides and feeling more confident, and that her body was telling her that as well. Tig certainly came with some trust issues, which is reasonable. She had, never really experienced anything as a dog. So everything was a first. Her first dog bed, her first time walking on grass. She doesn't know how to play fetch. She actually doesn't know how to jump. It's not that she can't. When you live in a cage that is 6 inches taller than your head, there's not a lot of opportunity for jumping. It was really clear though that when she came that she really wanted to sit on the couches. As terrified as she was of us, she would come up and ask to be put on the couch. So we bought these little stairs for every single one of our couches.
The stairs. No, that's not how it works.
So that she could have the independence to get on the couch and not feel conflicted and having to come and ask for our help. And that really was a game changer for Tig, where she started interacting more. And she really does like being around other animals. That's more of what she's used to than being around people. She has bonded with the dogs and with the cats before bonding with us. There is a lot of, rehabilitation that needs to take place. So we really had to be patient and just meet her where she was while she became comfortable learning her new life, living in a home and being a member of our family. You wagging your tail?
Under the Federal Animal Welfare Act, large-scale commercial breeders are required to be licensed by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. However, small operations with 4 breeding females or less are not regulated at all. And even those that are USDA licensed only have to meet the barest of requirements to be in compliance with federal law.
The bottom line is that the USDA regulations for puppy mills have not caught up at all with cultural attitudes, with our scientific knowledge about how dogs suffer. And even when the USDA finds violations of their bare minimum standards, they may impose a fine that is so small, it's cheaper to violate the law and pay the fine than it would be to actually comply with it.
Beyond the cruel nature of puppy mills, they also pose a consumer protection issue, since the entire industry is predicated on the public not finding out about the conditions in their facilities. Puppy mill operators and pet stores will routinely go so far as to prevent people from seeing the animals' true living conditions and to provide fraudulent paperwork on their health and origins.
Some breeders even use their certification through the American Kennel Club as proof of the quality of their facilities. But the AKC does not do inspections, and they do not guarantee humane conditions. In fact, a number of breeders who have AKC certifications turn out to be puppy mills.
In addition to pet stores, puppy mills often sell puppies at roadside venues such as flea markets or online.
People selling puppy mill puppies are doing everything that they can to make sure that the people purchasing those puppies don't actually know where they came from. Consumers who want to do the right thing, who don't want to support cruel industries, can be duped into doing that.
Purchasers may go online and see this web page that presents an idyllic setting where an animal's been raised when that couldn't be farther from the truth.
There are a number of red flags that you can look for to avoid purchasing a puppy mill dog. If the seller does not have a screening process, if the seller will not let you meet the mother dog, or will not let you tour the facility, if a seller is willing to ship you a dog via a courier service, or if they want you to meet them in a parking lot, if a seller is advertising more than 1 litter at a time. And lastly, the price. Rescue dogs and oops litters that occasionally happen do not charge $1,000 to $3,000 for their puppies. That price tag only comes with a for-profit breeding operation, and that should really be a tell that you're purchasing an animal from a puppy mill.
The Animal Legal Defense Fund is using a number of legislative approaches to address the issue of puppy mills, including suing pet stores for fraud, suing organizations that launder puppies through sham nonprofits in order to market dogs as rescues, holding the USDA accountable for licensing facilities that are in violation of the Animal Welfare Act, and working with legislators to enact retail sales bans and other bans that prohibit the sale of animals raised at commercial breeding facilities.
This is a bigger systemic fight against the puppy mill industry and against the government regulators at the USDA who are allowing it.
There have been attempts to strengthen protections for animals in commercial breeding facilities on the federal level that would provide modest improvements.
So things like transitioning from these wire floors to solid floors, having requirements that animals live within certain temperature variations, setting very minimum standards of care, including veterinary treatment, interrupting breeding cycles so that the females have at least a little bit of time to recover in between litters. It's important legislation because it would improve conditions on puppy mills, but the conditions are still not anywhere what we would consider to be appropriate for any animal to be raised.
While legal solutions are incredibly important, another incredibly effective way to put an end to the industry is by no longer financially supporting it. Really, the safest thing to do is to go to a bona fide animal rescue and save a dog. That's the best way to make sure that you're not supporting the puppy mill industry.
There is a lot of, rehabilitation that needs to take place, but in the end, you're making such a huge impact. You're allowing this dog to have the life that all dogs should have.
To learn how you can help protect dogs and combat puppy mills, visit aldf.org/puppymills.